Hello, my fellow heroes. So, over the last couple of days, I've noticed, well, just about every day since I've been playing, I noticed a lot of questions in the hero taverns, or chat, if you will. And every day we see a lot of the same questions, or a lot of similar questions from new players. And I know that it can be a pain to get that information, say if no one's responding to you, or if you don't use Discord, you don't have Discord, or maybe the guides are kind of just a little all over the place for you, and you don't want to sift through all that information and read it yourself. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go over some of the basics here for all of the new players, and I'm going to kind of break it down into sections so that I can provide timestamps for you guys. So that if you do come to this video looking for specific information, you can go down to the description and you'll see the timestamps of whatever question you might have. Also, feel free to leave any questions that you might have that I didn't get to. These are all questions that I've seen in chat, but that doesn't mean that I got every possible question listed here. So let me know down in the comments if you have further questions, and I can maybe make another video to address those. I do also plan on making a video that's kind of more late game focused, if that's some information that you're needing, but for the time being, let's get right into the beginner stuff. So first here is the first goal that you want to focus on when you first start playing. So the main goal is to hit level 1000, and you want to do that as soon as possible. That'll make your life 1,000 times easier, and there are a number of different ways that we can do that we can focus on that we can actually make progress there. So what I recommend doing is we'll start with stats, the best stats that you can use for your character. You're going to want to go all strength until second continent, otherwise referred to as C2. So go full strength every time you level up, put it in strength. Every time that you do, you get any stats, we'll get into Divine Tree later, I suppose. So go full strength and push as much as you can. You want to try to push as far as you can, and then once you've reached a certain point, you can come into your items here. You can use these knowledge bottles. Now, what I recommend doing with the knowledge bottles is not just push as far as you can and then use it. Push as far as you can, and then once you've reached a point where you're kind of stuck, as you can see here, I get 1.51 trillion. By the way, you can just tap the little arrow next to random events, and it'll get rid of those so that you can see your XP per hour and gold per hour. As you can see, I get 1.51 trillion per hour, but this isn't the highest stage I can go to. Say if I had pushed all the way to stage 50 on this one, I'll get 1.73 trillion per hour. Not a good example. I'll have to use Debacle as an example here. That's 2.62. Let's see if I can find one that... Okay, so we have 2.07 there. As you can see, it starts going down from that 3 trillion that you saw earlier. And that's because I'm just not killing as efficiently here. So you want to definitely maximize that XP per hour. Find the stage that you're killing the fastest. Find the stage that's giving you the highest XP per hour. Now that will usually be your highest stage if you're still in normal. But it can be lower than your highest stage after normal. So generally in normal, it's going to be your highest stage completed. After normal, I actually used normal 50, maybe even lower sometimes, up until honestly probably continent 2, the second continent. So up until C2, normal areas and normal 50 probably is going to be your best bet for fast XP, fast gold, using these bottles, gold bottles, knowledge bottles, to speed up progress. Now, another thing that's constantly asked is redeem codes. The redeem codes can be, if you tap on your name up in the top left, or your face up in the top left, you've got that redeem code option here. And those are going to be little, hero, And then you've got LH666 and LH999. Sorry, LH999. Those are gonna be your main codes to redeem. Every now and then I think they add one or two, but they tend to kind of fall off pretty quickly. Those have seemed to kind of stick around since the game came out. Daily focuses, you want to try not to neglect doing Oakland every day if you have it unlocked. Tower of Trial isn't super imminent if you're not doing that daily, not a huge deal. Demonic Realm, if you can, you want to do your daily 20 stages in this every single day if possible. And that's for the Iron Mercs here. Those will allow you to progress in significant ways outside of just leveling. Now, let's see. Best stats to go for, as I was saying, strength all the way till second continent. Some people do switch to complete vitality or VIA there. For Bane and after, some people get frustrated in Debacle and they will at that point switch. You can switch and you can make it work at any given point, but strength also, just going full strength, will work all the way through. And now that I've mentioned Debacle, let me go ahead and go into the map here. So when you're in the main stages, you've got normal. After stage 50, you unlock expert, which you will have to hit map, go to main stages, and then go to expert once you reach 50 on anything. Then you've got hell, and then after stage 30, you unlock Bane, Debacle, and Doom. I can touch more on Doom and even Second Continent in another video, because I'm trying not to make this one super long. Now, how events work. I've actually seen some people ask, how do events work? So first things first, I've got 3 up at the moment. You can hit this little refresh button up there, which is next to, just to the right of the 57, and you can use hourglasses to reset all of them. Or if I were to use 1 or 2, I have 58 seconds before another one takes its place, and it will be completely random. This is where you're going to find your Forge Master, your Merc Envoy, whatever else that you might need. You're going to find a lot of the stuff up there. When it comes to regular events, your main focus is going to be your Ein Decree. Dragon is okay, but as of right now, Invading Beast is the ongoing event. Every week, we seem to get a new event that kind of has its own purposes, and this can serve you really well, because as you can see up in the top left, you get event-specific currency, which can then be used in the event shop. In this case, it's the Vernal shop. And so I've got 1.89k of this currency. Obviously, it's mostly dragon focused. This is a dragon focused event, but gold bottles and time bottles can be useful. I recommend gold bottles over time bottles because of the difference in price, and time bottles aren't typically all that useful, realistically speaking. Let's see. As you can see, those 2 events that I used were replaced with random new ones. And let's see here. On to the next thing. Titles that need to be made a priority. So whenever you first get the Iron Awakened here, you're going to want to go left. You're going to want to aim for this node right here. The ones that you see that I still have are your main focus. So you want to go Guard, you want to go Knight, you want to go Silverlight Disciple, Guardian, Crusader, and Blood Knight. Most importantly, your first path should be actually Guard, Knight, Crusader, and Blood Knight. And once you reach Blood Knight, that's when you're going to want to max out first. Guard will probably come next if you don't use Guardian and Silverlight Disciple, depending on what you feel is best for you at the time. Or you can get some suggestions from other players in the chat. I recommend going Blood Knight first, 100%. Then your next your next ones are really up to you. I think second, I went for Guardian for that plus 10% hero damage mitigation. And then I added the 5% from Silverlight Disciple. And that's when I went Guard for that crit rate, because it's not super necessary up until you reach Doom. Now, another question I see asked a lot, what are the best mercs? Before I touch on that, actually, we'll go titles for a little bit longer here. I forgot to mention, for the first, maybe through mid normal, you might go hard gamer. It's easiest just to see which one gives you the best damage, hard gamer or valiant. Both of those are very beneficial, but you'll most likely see most people running Valiant, because once you have enough base damage, that 2,500, or in your case probably much less, the couple hundred, few hundred, whatever it may be, isn't going to be as significant as maybe you already have a few hundred attack, and that extra 100, 200% is more than doubling your attack. Therefore, the difference here is Valiant will come out on top. Commander is what you get from going that full left side of Ein, which you get the extra 900% HP, and you will need that for Doom at the very least. Now I can touch on best mercs. So the best mercs to go right off the bat, you want to focus on getting Frostplane Guard, Chivalrous Knight, and I recommend Everwinter Sage. Thunder Warrior is also a good one. Having these 4 is ideal, and as you can see, I have these 2 5 stars. That is a requirement. Everwinter Sage at 3 stars and Thunder Warrior 3 stars are recommended. You can choose one over the other if you'd prefer. I've seen people make it out of Doom just using Thunder Warrior. I've seen people do it. I personally used Ever, and so I used these 3 to create kind of a cycle buff to keep me from getting killed, as well as using a random event, the Weakening Curse. But those are the best mercs for early game, so you'll want to focus on Chivalrous Knight and Frostplane Guard first. Then Everwinter or Thunder Warrior, completely fine. Later game is when you start focusing a little bit more on damage, and that's where Shadow Assassin, Mystery, and Untamed Berserk comes into play. But I wouldn't worry about them early on. Not even a little bit. Next up is best elves. So elves, your main focus is going to be, and this is a poor example because I'm actually just sitting here farming gold. Your elves, you're gonna, as you can see, I have all of these 4-star and 5-star. You want 3 vamps. You're gonna want to run 3 vamps. I believe in Debacle, you actually start running 2 vamps and 1 Horned Sage. That may also include Doom. May actually only be Doom and may not be Debacle. Correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody knows actually how that, which one, where Horned Sage is necessary. But there's at least one difficulty where you're gonna need it, and at least it's probably gonna be Doom. Debacles maybe. Worst case scenario, if you find that 3 vamps aren't doing it for you, switch out a vamp for a Horned Sage. The rest that I have maxed out, leveled up, or whatever, aren't super significant and aren't super important, except for the Lucky Charms, which are handy for one specific purpose, and I'll get into that shortly. So, best skills is up next. As you can see, I'm currently rocking Fighter Concentration for the extra hit accuracy, Hammer Strike for the almost 3-second stun, Retarding Strike for the attack speed up minus 50%. In other words, it just slows the enemy's attack by half, by 50% for 5 seconds. Can be really useful, can save you. And Execute is a must. From Bane all the way through Doom, it's absolutely a necessity. These are the main ones to go for, unless, say you're doing Oak. If you're fighting Slime, then I can switch to my damage real quick. Back full, can't switch. Let me just sell 1 ring so that I don't get rid of anything that might be helpful. So on my damage setup here, you'll see that I actually have Fighter Concentration, Hammer Strike, Armor Piercing Strike, and Multi-Strike. So if you're trying to maximize your damage on slime, these are the ones to go. If you're not quite there yet, you're not worried about slime damage, which is completely okay, then definitely stick with the first 4 that I mentioned, and I'll go over those one more time real quick. And that's going to be Execute, Retarding Strike, Hammer Strike, and Fighter Concentration. Absolutely necessary, absolutely required. And let's see here. This video is definitely going longer than I expected it to, so I apologize. I'm trying to be brief on these descriptions here. Yeah, I'll just use stamps for anybody who needs it, honestly. So next up is best stats for gear. So what you'll see on mine right now isn't what you're going to be focused on initially or immediately. What you're going to go for is you're going to want, when you hit Doom, and again it may be, yeah, when you hit Doom, you'll get your first 1000 gear. Doom 11 is when you get level 1000 gear. From Debacle 11, you can get 1000 gear from the slime, but it's not a super reliable source. You're just going to want to push to Doom as soon as you can. Once you hit Doom 11, that's actually when those treasure hunters come in handy, because you can equip 3 of those. Chance of getting high quality gear is you're going to want to get the legendary 1000 gear. Once you have full maxed out the best gear that you can get, that's when you'll start recasting. And I forgot to mention, before Doom 11, before you're in max gear, try not to refine or recast if not completely required. It's counterproductive. I'll kind of try to list some of these basic tips out also in the description. Best stats for gear though, we'll hop back on that. So you're going to want to have, during Doom, you're going to want to have all of them to have lifesteal, HP percentage, and elemental resistance. I might have, here we go. So you see the extra HP percentage, lifesteal, and then that's attack speed, so that's not a deal. Oh, they're all going to have attack speed on it, sorry. So lifesteal, elemental resistance, and this extra HP percentage there. Now, another thing to consider is you will need at least 2 weapons, which you'll switch out. As you can see here, I switched out HP percent for crit rate, but when you're in Doom still, you'll want to take away that lifesteal, have crit rate, extra HP percent, and the elemental resistance. So you'll want to have 9 elemental resistance, 7 lifesteal, 2 crit, and 9 extra HP percentage. Best gems for gear is what you actually see that I'm rocking right now. In the regular armor pieces, you'll want to get the HP plus. Focus on those. I have attack speed in a few of these, which isn't necessary in Doom. And let's see. You're going to want the damage ones in your weapon and in your shield. And then you're going to want HP percent in your ring and your mind thing, your artifact, sorry. Next up, we've got weapons to use. So the best weapon you're going to want to go for, it'll look like this. They will all look like this. In fact, I can actually pull up the travel logs. This one's probably going to be your first one that you get. You're going to want to focus on daggers. So normal can be a bit of a slow push because you don't get these daggers until expert 21 to 50. But once you get the daggers, oh wait, 20 to 50 here. So this is the first dagger that you get. Dagger is what you're going to want to hold all the way up until Doom, and then you can switch to this sword. Specifically, when you're in Doom, it'll be the Blessed Sword, so it'll be this one right here. But you'll want to stick with only these daggers because of the attack speed. Having max attack speed is vital, so you'll want to stick with daggers up until Doom. Doom 11, and then switch to the Blessed Sword. Now, I've seen some people run scythes through Doom, and I don't personally recommend it. It's a lot of upkeep, it's a lot of risk, when realistically, the Blessed Sword will do you just fine, and you'll be able to focus on things that aren't attack speed, like your HP, your elemental resistance, so on and so forth. So I highly recommend switching to, once you beat Doom 100, that's when you'll want to switch to the Scythe, once you reach 2nd Continent. Now, another important question, the final important question that I hear asked a lot is, when should I rebirth? What does rebirth do? Well, just honestly, don't rebirth until you reach 2nd Continent. And the reason I say that is because I've rebirthed here, and you'll notice that I don't have all of Doom stages unlocked, because I did rebirth and I didn't go all the way back through it, but I also still have 2nd Continent unlocked. And that's why you want to wait till you have 2nd Continent, because then if you rebirth, it doesn't matter if you can't make it all the way back through Doom 100, because 2nd Continent stays unlocked. Now, the only purpose for it is you get a little bit more gems than if you were to commission. You'll see everyone say, hey, commission. When the time traveler shows up, just hit commission, just hit commission. And generally that's true. Generally that's your best option. And until you've got a scythe that's at least 3 or 4 stars, or diamonds, whatever it is that you want to call it, I wouldn't recommend doing rebirth, because it's only, instead of 4,000 diamonds, you get 8 to 12,000, depending on how far you push. So it's really not all that worth your time, because it also can take you 2 or 3 hours to get that done, whereas commission, if you go to a stage like the one that I'm on now, you burn through enemies quick, and those 3,000 are gone before you know it. Also, I've seen people ask where gear level drops, so I'll pull up the map here. So in Bane, you'll start getting your level 700 drops, or no, your 800. Hell, you'll get through 700. Then you'll start getting your 800 gear, as you can see on the map here. At Bane 11 and higher, Debacle 11 and higher, or all of Debacle, you'll get 900 gear, but at Debacle 11 and higher, you'll get 1,000 gear from Slime. And then at Doom, chance to drop 1,000 gear, but I recommend hitting Doom 11 first, and then just leaving it on Doom 11 for a while. I don't know for sure if it drops on 1. I went to 11 and then just left my character on 11. Or you can pop some blue potions. I don't have any for an example. But you can also pop some blue potions if you're trying to gear up that 1,000 really quickly. Just make sure that you switch to the elves that are Lucky Charms. There is an elite version, or higher version, awakened version, whatever it's called, of the Lucky Charms, and it's not necessary, it's not needed, it's not going to do you much better. If you have 3 of these, you'll do just fine. The last thing that I have listed here to answer some questions is people have asked where to get dragons. You can get them from the Dragon's Lair. They cost real money, as you can see here. Granted, you can press the chest here, watch an ad to get that, and once you've watched 3 ads, you can get 1 free dragon draw, and you can do that daily. So you can get 1 dragon per day, or at least 1 draw per day. It doesn't guarantee that it's a dragon. There are also events that'll help you with that, and sometimes you'll get a number of things that'll allow you to draw dragons in addition to your normal dragon. Some events will just net you the eggs and everything, so You'll come across those as you see them. And then the last question, people asking, why won't my Dragon's Adventure? So if I hit recall all here, as you can see, it all says explored, but in some cases, say if I were to, I have done that here in just a few hours. Well, I sent them out this morning, and if I did it at reset, if I recalled them at reset, they probably wouldn't have the dragons reset yet. These explorations, these adventures, these reset every 24 hours, and the dragons, it feels like maybe 12, but this whole process takes only 8 hours. So if you can't send the dragons out just yet, wait a few more hours, try again. And that is all that I've got for this video. Like I said, I can do a more specific video on I can do a more advanced video on Doom if you're wanting some Doom footage or some Doom questions. I can also do a more advanced video on Second Continent. If you're wondering what to focus on in Second Continent, definitely let me know in the comments, or, you know, however you'd like to. You can probably let me know in game if you happen to see me, or you're in chat and I happen to say something and you notice that it's me. As you see here, there's actually someone asking, is Rebirth worth it? And obviously not until Doom or possibly C2. I would recommend correcting Avenger there and saying 100% wait until C2. But anyways, if you guys see me in game, feel free to ask me if you want a specific type of video. I'm probably going to actually break this one up into 2 videos because it's ended up being so long. But again, if you guys see me, let me know in game, or if you can comment on YouTube, let me know what other questions that you have, and I can make another video of answering questions, or I can make a Doom video, or a Second Continent C2 video, you name it. I'll also be uploading a Bane video here shortly. But thank you guys for checking it out, and I hope that this was helpful to some extent. You guys have a good one.